Welcome to the Circuit of Success Podcast.
The Circuit of Success Podcast.
With your host, Brett
Gilliland. Brett Gilliland, Visionary Wealth Advisory.
The Circuit of Success Podcast. Let's start the show.
Welcome to the Circuit of Success. I'm your host, Brett Gilliland. Today, I've got Shawn French with me. Shawn, what's going on, my man?
Oh, man. Hey, it's just a beautiful day in Florida, and I'm so jacked to be here with you. I appreciate the invite, man.
Absolutely. How's beautiful Naples going right now?
You said it, beautiful. You know, it's so nice here, but it's also a pressure cooker. It already feels like summer, so we're already feeling it. And, but it's so beautiful out here. We absolutely love it in Southwest Florida.
Awesome. Great. Well, we love Naples. We've got an office there. We've got 9 office locations for Visionary Wealth Advisors and 2 in Florida, Palm Beach Gardens and 1 in Naples. So maybe when I'm down there visiting the office, I'll have to come by and say hi.
But just let me know when you're coming. Give me a good week. And we'll schedule some time.
Absolutely. Well, you are Shawn French. You are the founder and host of the Determined Society. It's a globally ranked top 0.5%, I didn't say 5%, 0.5% podcast. It's cracked the top 10 on Apple and top 5 on Spotify. You've built a loyal audience, man. It's raw, it's unfiltered conversations. It's about grit. It's about mindset. You are an author, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but man, what has helped make Shawn French the man you are today?
Oh man, you know, a lot of failure, a lot of adversity. I always say, I recently did a TEDx talk in Naples here about adversity being the real classroom in life. And I feel as though when we're young, our families, you know, our friends, they want to save us from adversity and kind of take away all the tools from our tool belt and give us the answers and protect us. So what I found to be the most serving for me is to struggle a lot, whether it's with, you know, grieving my grandmother's death, my blood clot, or whatever it may be. Those are the things that have made me who I am, because what I do is in those moments, I learn, what is this actually teaching me? You know, what is this doing for me, instead of being the victim and going, why me? No. Thank you for this challenge. Let me see what this is all about. Let me see how it's going to serve me and what it's teaching me. And then I put my face in those feelings and I just lean into it, man. And then I get through it. That's what's done for me. That's what's built everything, you know, my sales career, this, and, you know, hopefully a decent husband and a father.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the failures, man, are huge, but it sucks in the moment, doesn't it? But when I look back on my career, my worst year professionally was my best year, that I learned the most about myself, about life. Thankfully, it was my early 20s and, you know, learned from it, but I learned a lot from it, man. So talk about those things that you learned about your failure that you wish that listener that maybe is going through a dark spot right now, what they need to listen to and what they need to know.
Great point and great question. What we have to do is what they need to do, and we all need to do, because at times we all struggle with it, right? We're human beings. We don't have any fail safes or programming to feel a certain way and be happy about losing something that we thought was going to be ours.
That's right.
But I think the most important thing in those moments is to realize that what's going to be for you is going to come no matter what. And you have to have some type of faith. You have to have faith in God. If that's not your thing, have faith in the universe that, you know, as long as you stay on the right path and you work hard and you're efficient and intentional and you have clarity around what you want to create, that eventually the things that are for you are going to come right to you, right? Yeah. But the things that you don't receive that you thought were going to be big for you, they hurt. They hurt tremendously. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that you shouldn't be butthurt about it or you shouldn't cry over those things. Get your emotions out, but then also realize, hey, it wasn't for me. Something bigger and better is coming. Maybe the universe or maybe God is saving me from a big mistake.
Yeah. What, talk about the Determined Society and like what it is exactly. I know obviously there's a podcast, but there's also a community side to that and you're speaking. So exactly what is the Determined Society?
You know, the Determined Society, we're building out community. You know, I've soft launched some things and we're still kind of working through what we want to build out through it. Because we want it to be efficient. We want it to be high touch. So we want it to be extremely valuable for the people that are in the community. But in a nutshell, what the Determined Society is just a bunch of people. And this is the basis of the show too, is that, you know what, no matter what happens, they wake up and they chase their dreams. They are determined. They don't worry about how they're feeling emotionally at that time. They just know that they made a decision, they made a choice, and they said it out loud to do something the next day. And dang it, they get up and they do it. Period. That's the Determined Society. And the name came from when I was trying to build out this personal brand. And I was working with my friend Nicole, and she said, people think you're determined. That's your personal brand. And we did a lot of testing and things of that nature, but she's like, what do you want to do with that? And I had no idea, Brett, I was in medical sales at that point. I was in scrubs all day, like 10 hours a day, and just hanging out in robotic surgeries, and it was a great career, made a lot of money, but it wasn't fulfilling for me. Right.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know what this means. And she got frustrated with me. She says to me, oh my God, what do you want? And reactionary. I don't like to be reactionary unless I have to. And in this moment, I'm like, I want to wake up in a determined society where people wake up and chase their dreams no matter how they feel in that point in time. And she was Determined Society. I go, no, the Determined Society. And it was a Facebook group for a very long time. And then I was like, one day I go, I'm going to turn this into a podcast. And that's where we are. That was 5 years ago. And it's what we do, man.
I love it. It makes me think. So I talked about my bad year. So my bad year was in 2003. I started in wealth management in 2001. 2002 was my first full year. I had a phenomenal year. I was like the top new guy in all of St. Louis for first year reps. I'm on the hill, right? Top of the hill. 2003. Oh, this is easy, man. I got some talent. This is easy. Clients are just going to come in. It's just going to happen, right? 2003, I can't believe they didn't fire me. I can't believe my wife was like, what the hell? Who is this guy? Because she'd be like, what's your check going to be next week? We got to pay the bills. I'm like, I'm not going to have one. And I created this thing and I said, okay, who wants to be successful? I'm like, I do, right? I'm talking to myself. I'm sitting at the island of the kitchen of our new house that we had just built. And here I am failing. And I built, your attitude was the top left. Your belief system was the top right. The bottom right was actions and the bottom left was results. And that was the circuits of success. If I could do and follow those things, I would keep success in this little fence and I would never get too far away from me. And that was in 2003. I launched this podcast in 2017. It was called The Circuit of Success, right? That's what it was called then. Because if you didn't have all those things, the light bulb wouldn't shine. And if you took one away, the light bulb's never coming back on, right? So that's for me why I'm doing this. And I think it's fun. And I think it's cool that you said this thing just kind of stayed there for a while, right? And sorry for my long story, but I think it's important to know that people that are listening to you and me, there's things in our hearts and our minds, right? That were 5 and 10 years ago that can still come out and help you be successful. So when you hear that little story, what comes to mind for you?
Well, first of all, I love the story because you connected a system and processes to success. And that's what we've done. I mean, everybody, listen, how many recipes for cakes are there?
Yeah, millions.
A lot.
Yeah.
Millions probably, right? But at the end of the day, it's a cake. And so I think success is the same way. How we build our frameworks is based on how we feel we know we need to get there. And so for me, it was all about mindset, mental toughness, clarity, strategic activity, strategic planning actually, right? So that was my framework. And everything that I did from that point on to echo and piggyback off your story is that's how I ran my play. I ran my play that in my sales career every single day. And it took me from being a very bad sales rep at Paychex to being one of the top 20 reps at the point where at the time when I left. And there was about 2,000 reps in the whole country. Then I went to medical and I did the same thing. So your system that you created, the circuit, right? For me, it was a process and all these different pillars that I needed to create and do every single day and track as part of my KPIs to become extremely successful no matter what it was. So I do that in my fitness. I do that in my nutrition. I do that with my show. I do that everywhere in my life. I focus on that process and those systems. And if I do that, I can't lose.
Right.
If I come off of them, then I struggle. And I'm sure you have, times where you've kind of looked away from that circuit of success and, had some momentary lapses, but then you know how to get back on the horse and you know the play to run.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's right here. It's this shameless plug. It's my journal, right? That I created. This is 25 years of my life. And last night, as I'm sitting outside, I'm doing my Sunday planning, and it's consistent, right? So I say this a lot on the show. It's like when you plan your week, it's hard to not win, right? And but I've sat there. I was in this meeting or in this podcast in this chair last night, right? When I'm doing my Sunday planning for Monday morning at 10, I was already here, right? I was on your Instagram account doing research, right? You're focused. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. So for me, it's Sunday planning. I plan the week. I'm in each meeting. I'm every single meeting with my clients, whatever it may be. What is it for you? What's your quote unquote Sunday planning?
I don't know if it's a Sunday planning thing for me, Brett, to be fair. It's throughout the whole week, right? Because this is the only thing I do now.
Okay.
To be clear, like I don't have a job. This is my job. And I'm blessed and I'm grateful that I've been able to create that for my life and for my family, because I do travel, but I'm home most of the time. For me, it's throughout the week. So for instance, I have interviews tomorrow to Wednesday, then I fly to Baton Rouge, so I have 4 interviews in the course of 4 days. That planning is already done. So I do it throughout the week.
Yep.
I research the people that I don't know very well, but then I really go to deep research to see exactly what I can bring out of them that nobody else has. And then I create these questions that have potential, deep answers and then potential virality to it. And then I look over it over and over and over again. And by the time we hit the day, like tomorrow when I have my shot, I'm already locked in. I've already been in that chair, so to speak. And I've done it throughout the week, because for me, if I try to do all of my planning for that one guest the night before, it's not going to be as good. And so but now when I was in sales, I would plan on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
And I would literally map out what area I was going to be in, who I was going to go see, at what time I was going to go see him. And I would check them off every single time in a planner. I don't live like that anymore, but my strategic planning happens throughout the week. I never stop, right? And I always look on the back end on how to grow, how to grow with true metrics, how to have, more stickier conversations, stickier listeners and repeat listeners and that whole game, man. So I spread it out through the week. It works for me. But that's what it looks like.
Yep. So talk to our listeners about that. So here you are, you have a good job, you leave that, and now you're a podcast guy, right? You look at this and it's obviously more than that. You're building a community, but you get to interview people for a living. That's what you do. Like you said, you don't have a quote unquote job. How do you build that, number one? How did you turn it into now you're sitting down with, was it Jana Kramer and William H. Macy and Jay Leno and all these people, right? How do you go from I'm in a surgery room in my scrubs to I'm sitting down and interviewing Jay Leno?
Man, how much time you got?
As much as you got, brother.
You know what I think? You know what I think it really is? I think it's just about not being afraid to ask. Not being afraid to ask and be willing to look and feel your best, give the best interviews, but then also give them something special when you do interview them, so they respect you instead of digging on things that you shouldn't dig on. Really get to be interested in who they really are, right? And that goes a long way. And that's how it was at the beginning. But what I'll really say is, and I'm 100% transparent. If people want to grow to that point and talk to those types of people, PR is so huge. I mean, having a publicist is massive. Having an agent is massive. A brand manager is massive, right? All those different things all tie together. So I have people working constantly to vet out guest forms, right? And then I get to look at them and be like, okay, well, yes, no, maybe, or hey, you're saying no on this one, but I think I can go this angle and I think it'd be a great interview, right? Because I know more about that individual than maybe the person who brings it to me does. But the funny thing about some of them like Jana Kramer, dude, I sent her a DM.
Right.
And I just said, hey, love everything you do. Loved you in One Tree Hill, but really love Gaslit by My Husband. That was such a great movie. It was good to see you and Austin doing something together again. It was a co-star from One Tree Hill. They played a very close role in One Tree Hill and played a very close role, obviously, because they were married in this new movie. And I just complimented her. And she wrote back. She actually saw it. And turned out that her husband listened to my show and liked it. And we started throwing voice memos back. And then it was text message, and then it was phone call. Then it was, hey, send my manager an email. I'd love to be on your show. And so I flew up to Nashville. So by the time when she responded to that DM, to the time that I had her on camera was a week and a half.
Wow.
So, I would say being very personal, and when you talk to these bigger celebrities, I guess you would call them, is don't lead with, oh my God, I'm such a fan.
Right.
Find something of substance to message them with. Compliment them on something, right? It's not going to work for every single one of them, but it can. And I was in, where was I? I was in DC in the middle of January, and I'm in the green room of Fox 5 because I had a couple interviews that I was doing on air, and sitting next to me was Tony Goldwyn from Scandal and Ghost, and his voice comes up, and I looked at him like, what the hell? I was like, what are you doing here, man? And we started talking, and within 30 minutes, he gave me his publicist information. We sent the email, and within a month, we were on camera. So long-winded answer, but I think it's multiple steps, right? It's PR. It is having a real brand where people can understand what you're really talking about and want to talk to them about. And then, sometimes you strike gold and you slide into a DM and they see it.
Right.
It works.
It is amazing. I mean, I think about one of my biggest, I'm a huge college basketball guy, and I had a podcast on, and it was a golf guy, and Jay Billis, the announcer, shared it. And I'm like, holy crap, Jay Billis shared my podcast. Same thing, man. I just went into his DMs. I'm like, hey, yeah, right. I'm like, this is cool. And he started following me. I was sitting there on Thanksgiving Day, and I'm like, it came across, Jay Billis follows you. I'm like, holy smokes, and I'm still that little kid, from Mattoon, Illinois, who's like, man, how am I sitting here with guys like you and Jay Billis and Chris Pronger and others and interviewing them? I'm like, this is really cool. But I think for me, somebody said early in my career, if you don't ASK, you don't GET, right? So if you don't ask, you don't get. And it was very simple. And I think sending a message to the DM of somebody doesn't hurt, right? What's the worst thing they're going to do? Not respond. Right? They're not going to send you the middle finger back. They're not going to call your kids and tell you you're terrible, but you just got to ask, man. And so that's what you've built a career doing. That's what I've built a career doing in wealth management or in sales. So what ask, if you will, what would you tell people that are listening right now that they need to get one step further in their career? What do they need to be doing?
Well, they need to be clear on what they need to do and who they need to become to get to the next level. And then once they can identify that, they can reverse engineer into who they need to speak to. Right. And I think with different careers, it's a different ask, right? Because if you don't know somebody, it's really hard to ask them. The one thing that I don't, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I help people naturally because I love to do it. But when I don't know somebody at all, and they send me a message wanting me to help them, they want to pick my brain to build something. I'm like, that's not the ask, right? That's not the ask. The ask for that is, hey, I'm building something. I would love your feedback in what has made you one of the blah, blah, blah shows in the country. Are you willing to have a 15-minute conversation with me? 100%, 1000%, right? But you have to be able to understand and know these people enough, like what's going to work. And it's hard because if you don't know these people, you don't really know how to approach them unless you dig really hard and you look at like, just like you said, you looked at my Instagram. I look at someone's reels, like with Jana or some of the bigger names that we have coming up too, that, I study their mannerisms. I study how they speak, their speech patterns, how they speak, and then I mimic that because I can communicate pretty diversely. I have one specific communication style that I love, but you also have to meet people where they're at, right? So again, be clear, understand who you need to become, and then you can reverse engineer on who you need to speak to and how you need to speak to them. But a lot of times, if you just come to people with a lot of humility, hey, look, I know this is probably going to, upset you, or I'm encroaching on your day. I would just really like to learn from you. I really like this conversation with you. Can I have 10 minutes? I don't think that's a bad ask, but, I just think that's the way that people need to approach it. Be very real. Do not try to sound too smart. Do not try to sound too successful. Just flat out say what you need. Yep. And a lot of times it does work.
Yep. I couldn't agree more, man. Talk about, I call it boringly consistent. And so I show up every day. I take my bag. I put it in the same chair. I grab my same water. I go fill it up. I say hi to everybody in the office. I come back. I got my journal, right? That's my boringly consistent. I've already planned the day. So now I work through the day. What is your boringly consistent that you do every single day, that you just show up and you do it? And even when the lights aren't on, you're doing it daily.
It's so funny you call it boringly consistent, because I know where you're coming from, right? I call it mastering the monotony.
Yeah.
Right. So if I can master the monotony of my day, which is waking up at 4 a.m., that sucks.
Yeah.
Gym by 5. Come home at 6. Do the kids stuff, make their breakfast, get their snacks for school, pack it, have my coffee and eat with them. And then when they leave, I shower, I get ready, and I do all the things that I need to do. And when you think of mastering the monotony or the consistently boring, these aren't sexy things, but they're the things that move the needle, Brett.
Yep.
For everybody listening, everybody thinks that there's a silver bullet, that if I just have this one strategy, I can put it in the changer, pull the trigger anytime I want, and there it is. I'm the badass. It's not what it is. It's not what it is. It's all those moments, right, where you're doing something that's so freaking boring or monotonous. It doesn't matter. The research in our case, or for you, the financial planning. Some of the financial planning that you're probably doing, or some of the people that work with you that are doing, like, some of it isn't your favorite. You like doing the bigger thing, but how you get to the bigger thing with this person is the boringly consistent.
That's right.
Do the small thing. And that's the way I look at my life, is all those boring things, all the monotonous, torturous things. That's the gift. That's the win. The results that just come by the byproduct of it are just coincidental, man.
Yeah. How long did it take you to get used to the 4 o'clock thing? Or did you still not get used to it? It's still tough.
It depends, man. It depends where I'm at mentally or what's going on with my kids. I have 3 kids. So, if it was a late night because of extracurriculars, there's days where if I don't have any recordings or I don't have a lot of calls stacked up, then I will wake up at 6 and I'll go to the gym at 7:30.
Yeah.
Right? But that's very few and far between. To get used to the 4 a.m. workouts, or wake ups and then the 5 a.m. workouts, I don't think you could ever get used to it unless you're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is if you're doing it because you don't like where you're at, you hate yourself, you're leading with shame, disdain, you're never going to make that move and you're never going to like it. You're never going to get used to it. You do it out of love and respect for yourself. And this is what I do. This is my standard. It is very easy because now you're in the position of power. Like, no, I'm doing this because this is what I do. This is
who I am.
Then it becomes very simple to get used to.
Yep. Yeah. I think there's purpose to it. Right. And I think for me, it's like when I find when I'm in my best workout mode or eating, it's having that goal at the end, right? It's having that end. I guess it's goal, mission, vision, whatever it is, right? Something I'm focusing on. So how clear are you on the things that you want to do 5 and 10 and 15 and 30 years from now?
So clear, Brett. So clear. I mean, like, I know what I want my first multi-year deal to look like. I know what I want the big contract after the rookie contract to look like. I know what I want my body to look like. I know what I want my marriage to look like. I already know what I want my kids operating like. So what I do there is I visualize it. I get really quiet and I look at that. And then I do my best to feel the emotion of the attainment of all those things. And then I let the F go.
Yeah.
I never think about it again. Never think about it again. The only time I think about it is when I'm sliding into bad habits, which don't happen very often. They do. At that point, man, I just focus on, like we said, the systems, the process, the work. Because if we can do that, and if the people listening can find what they want to do and understand it in a clarity standpoint, then they can just do the work and divorce themselves from that result. Because the work, what they'll find is, that's where you build the confidence. That's where you build the joy. That's where you become unbreakable. Because if you can do the 4 a.m.s and you can do the 3 hours of calling random people in the middle of the day for sales for a new account, then you can do anything. But people look at those and like, I don't want to do it. I'm not ready. And then they backslide. They don't do it. And then now the next day they've created a habit that says, one, you don't keep your word to yourself. And when that happens, your confidence level drains. It's gone. You have to rebuild it back up. So, I just approach it as I think of it, I see it, I feel it, and then I just focus on the actions.
Yeah. Makes me think of accountability too. I mean, accountability to others, but also accountability to yourself. Like, right? Like if you miss 3 or 4 days in a row of getting up at your 4 a.m., doing your workout at 5, nobody else knows that, right? But you know it, right? And that's what matters. And I think that's where people sometimes can fail if for lack of a better word, but is accountability to the self, right? So how do you do that?
The accountability to myself. Well, I mean, there's a couple things I do. If I'm trying to do something that I feel is going to be really, really hard, I'll talk to my wife about it. I'll talk to my friend Dan, who also works with me, and I'll go, hey, look, this is what I'm trying to do. Hold me accountable for this. Like truly, this is like, I got it, but ask me how it's going. Right? Ask me if I'm doing the things that I said I would do. So I had that layer on there. But man, I become so, it's really, I hate to say this, Brad, but sometimes I feel like I become very robotic. And what I mean by that is, and I don't want your audience to misconstrue it, I'm not just going through the motions. I'm just robotic in a sense that, all right, this is on my schedule. I don't want to freaking do this right now, but yeah, dude, you're going to, right? Because for me, I know what it looks like when I don't do that.
Yep.
I'm 40 pounds heavier. I'm anxious. I'm depressed. And I'm not a walking billboard of the determined society. That's how I hold myself accountable, is like, what would that guy do? What would the guy that is shooting for that 5-year, $250 million deal in 10 years, would he slack on this?
Yeah.
Or would he do it? And those are my checks and balances.
Yeah. Solid, man. I think again, it's the vision, right? You know what the end result is, you know what your goal is. And if you want that bad enough, which again, you're the one that created it. So then go to work, right? You've done the work, you've done the visioning. And for us, and that's what this logo right here is. That's our firm's logo. It's my personal mission. It's achieving a future greater than your past, right? And everything I do, hence the name of the journal, right? Achieving a future greater than your past. Mm-hmm. And so when we do that and you hear those words, achieving a future greater than your past, what comes to mind for you?
Couple things, man. The first and foremost, achieving a future that's greater than my past is giving my children something that I never had. And I love my parents. I'm very close with my parents. But there was a lot of yelling in the household. And so I never want them to hear that. I never want them to feel that energy. I never want them to never see me at home because I'm out doing so much work to make money to survive. Right. So I want to give them a better future first and foremost, because everything I do is tied directly to what can I do for my family. For me, personally, when I think of creating a future better than my past, is just being better than who I was when I lost everything in 2008 to the crash. You know, am I making better decisions right now? Why did that happen? I was in the mortgage industry. That's a big indicator of why it happened to me.
I was gonna say, it made me wonder for a second.
Yeah. I was in the mortgage. I was doing home loans, and man, I took a big hit. But yeah, man, it's just really about like those past failures or adverse moments where I felt the world was crashing down on me. What can I do to insulate myself from that again? And then if I truly believe in I keep saying running the play, but for me, I'm a sports guy. I played baseball. You know, if I have to call a first and third situation, if I'm calling a bunt play, like let's run a play. And so whatever that is for me, that's what I stick to.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's how I create a better future, you know?
Yep. I'm going back and forth on all these questions here, but like talk about the night before, right? So the day, you got to get prepared for the day, but what's last night like for you to be able to get up at 4:00? Part of that I'm assuming is mindset. But what's that like for you?
Love. You know, and what I mean by that, to give you massive context and the audience as well, is before, when I would self-regulate or make these goals, it was because I had so much shame. I hated the way I looked. I hated everything about me in certain areas. So my alarm clock used to say at 4 a.m., wake up, B word. Right? I don't know if I can cuss on your show, so I'm going to respect you.
I let her rip. I don't care.
Okay. I would say, wake up, bitch.
Right.
How negative is that to see in the morning? You think it's like, oh, it's motivating, or it's going to help me be disciplined and determined, but really
Right.
Discipline and determination are so freaking quiet. They're behind the scenes. Everybody thinks determination is a sexy thing. It's the most boring thing you will ever think of, ever. And when I shifted to love is when I really caught fire. You know, so my alarm clock now says, I love you, Shawn. So I wake up in the morning and I see something that I wrote myself that never used to be reality. And so the night before, I do everything that's in alignment with that. So I don't drink ever, right? I set out my workout clothes to be exactly where they need to be. I put my phone in the bathroom and I charge and I turn on the alarm clock. I got to get up. It's 15 feet away, man.
Yep.
Those things right there help me, because if it was right next to me, I could hit the snooze button just like anybody else. So those are the kind of the things that I do. I make sure I'm hydrated. You know, before I go to bed, I have electrolytes and one more serving of creatine and a protein shake. You know, and I wake up in the morning and I'm like, all right, it's time to roll, man. This is good.
That's awesome.
I'm excited about it. Yeah.
So you do creatine and protein at night, huh? Right before bed?
So I do, if I'm really hungry, I'll do a protein shake at night, right? Because if I'm starving, that means I'm depleted somewhere, right? And I'd rather put protein in my system so my body can actually use it and help me recover and grow. So I do 2 servings of creatine a day. I do 5 milligrams in the morning and I do 5 milligrams in the evening. Is it milligrams or grams? Whatever.
Yeah, milligrams, I think.
2 scoops
whatever. 5 something. We're not doctors.
Where am I? In Europe right now? What the hell?
Right.
No, I do 2 scoops a day. A lot of times I do it at night because I forget during the afternoon, because my afternoons are usually back-to-back calls, you know, for brand deals. I'm with whomever, I have 3 calls after this. Like, I don't know how I'm going to get my oil changed today, but I'm going to have to try.
But you'll get it. You tracking your food?
It's funny. I used to.
Yeah.
I used to, but it became, I would say I have a disordered eating in general, from my past, and really, I would use food as the dopamine increase or the dopamine hit. So when I would track food, I would get way too granular about it, and I would never have the results. Now that I'm at where I'm at, I literally focus on whole foods. Right. So my protein is whole food. It's real food. It's from Redcon 1. I don't take whey. It has to be whole food protein. Right. So if I can't have a meal, that's as good as a meal, right? Because it's egg whites, it's a lot of different things like that. So I just stick to, if I'm on a 3-4 month run where I'm not touching complex carbs, then I just won't touch them. I'll have my protein, I'll have my fruits, and that's it. Period. So for me, I look at things a little bit differently. I don't care that I'm over on my calories, right? Because there's days where they'll say like, hey, for you to be in a caloric deficit, Shawn, you need to be at like 2,500 calories. There's some days I might get 2,800, but I wake up 2 pounds lighter in the morning.
Right.
Because I'm eating all protein. I'm eating things that are on plan. So for me, it's if I stick to what God put on this earth, I'm gonna be fine.
Yeah.
I think watching calories is important if you're going to go processed foods, because you don't know what the hell's in that.
Right. Yep. Talk about going public. I'm a big believer in sharing my vision, sharing my goals, sharing my dreams. And it's amazing how those things will, once shared, become reality, right? And so are you a big believer in that, going public?
More in the past than I am now, right? Like, I'm not against it. If there's things that I need to say about going public, I will, right? But I don't make it a regular practice any longer. Before, and here's why, because I recognized that before when I was doing it, I was looking for that external validation. And so now I don't seek that out anymore. I just like to stay in my own little bubble with my people, and they tell me if I'm on the right track or not. They tell me like, hey, I don't like where you're at. You need to shift. Right. And so, I'll be very public with them, but for the audience, on the show, I'm very open about where we're going. On the social platforms, I'm a little bit more turned down on letting everybody know where I'm going. Simply for the fact that I just don't want it to come off arrogant. I don't want it to come off any which way, but yeah, man, I'm more internal now with that. It doesn't bother me when other people do it, because everybody has their own reasons, and I'm not here to evaluate anybody other than myself. But yeah, man, I don't have a problem with it, but for me personally, it helps me stay grounded if I'm just quiet behind the scenes.
I like that. Yeah, I think for me, it's my circle, right? It's having that circle. It's not just the random guy that you're talking to at a 50th birthday party or something. It's your circle.
Yeah.
I didn't explain that very well. When I meant going public, I didn't mean like everybody, but I think it's, for me, it is that validation of, hey, I'm thinking about this. Like, we have a members only speakeasy over here. And it's like, that was something that was in the making for 2.5 years, right? It's like, can we really pull this off? There's nothing like that in this area. Anyway, so that's the going public for me is where it's at. Talk about your book, your new book, Blood Type Determined. Love the name. Talk about the name, and then talk about the book.
So the name, it's so funny because I did a clip, I don't know, probably 2 years ago, and it was about my blood type being baseball, because I played baseball for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And then my business partner, Pat Sitkins, goes, that's it, blood type baseball. I go, it doesn't really relate. I don't know what you mean. He goes, no, blood type determined. I'm like, oh, wow. So I started digging into that. I'm like, how did I build this level of determination? What were the 3 hardest things in my life, that happened that forced me to become this determined individual? And can I honestly say that it's built into my DNA now? So this whole book is going through certain aspects of my life. Like, for instance, in 97, I lost my grandma to a blood clot. To pancreatic cancer. Then 2 years later, I had a blood clot that ended my sophomore year in college, potentially was ending my whole career. And then I got through it. So I was 99 and then 98. And then in 2000, I had complete shoulder reconstruction surgery the fall that I got to LSU, and I was on the shelf for almost 2 years.
Wow.
So really talk about all those things and how I built myself back up after losing so much. And, what are the pillars? It's discipline. It's grit. It's all these different things. Like, I go through all these situations in my life and show the reader exactly how to build that determination in their life. And so it's not just a memoir, it is an exercise. At the end, there's appendices, and there's all these different journal prompts. There's all these different things that people can do to interact for their own selves. But most importantly, see the framework, how I came out of all this adversity, not unscathed and not unharmed or unhurt, but like giving people the tools. So like, okay, if I focus on these 4 pillars, I can get through this, because he did it for this and he did it for that. And he did it for that too. And so the reader can sit back and go, I now have a playbook. And that was the goal for the whole thing. And, blood type, like, yeah, I really, truly do feel that my DNA has been changed, like not at the real level, right? I know what my blood type is, but like, I just also feel that I have changed the way I move. I changed the way I operate through these 4 pillars, these decision-making things every single day. Yeah, my blood type is determined, period. Right. And that book is just going to, I feel it's going to help so many people. And if no one reads it, it's cool. I got it out of my system. I wrote it. It's out there.
Well, even if your kids have it, right? I think that's what's cool about it. I don't have a book, but it's for your kids, it's your kids will read it. And so hopefully at least you'll have 3 book sales. Maybe your wife will buy it, but for sure your 3 kids, right?
Well, we've had some already, right? Because we're in pre-sales now, and I'll get you the link for your readers, and they can do that if they want to. But yeah, man. I wrote it. I self-published one probably 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, called Unstoppable, right? And they still read it.
Yeah, I love it.
Still read it.
I love it. So we'll put the link to that in the show notes. Where do our listeners find more of Shawn French?
The best way to find more of me is to go to Instagram and go at the Shawn French, SHAWN French, and hit me up there. Say hi. Let me know where you heard about me from. I share a lot on that platform. You can find the Determined Society on all major platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all those kinds of things. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'd be, other than at the gym in the morning. So if you're in Fort Myers, let me know.
If you're in Fort Myers, Naples area, just go to a local gym. We'll find him at 5 a.m., man. So Shawn French, thanks, my man, for being on the Circuit of Success podcast. It's been a pleasure. Stay with me here, and thanks so much.